All right. Well, Complexity, first team to start 2-0. Again, they have the advantage of playing first, but definitely impressive performance from them. The interesting thing to me about that little conversation was they had rules last week just to, get things settled. But now that they've all sort of gotten comfortable, this week they were talking more, and it seemed really healthy discussion.
Yeah, a lot of times when you're practicing Hearthstone, it's a matter of going through motions and discussing things after the fact.
Yeah.
When you're playing as a team, though, I imagine there's a lot of players who are unfamiliar with how to communicate in a situation like that effectively. You have a limited amount of time to take your turn. Everything needs to be sequenced properly. And if there's any elements that change it, the three of you need to come to an agreement pretty quickly. So I loved the way that they were communicating this week and always checking their back on that one. Even when someone had a strong instinct, they wanted to make sure that all the opinions were crossed. So I think that they're looking poised for week number 3.
All right, well, before we get into the intro for match number 2 for the day, let's take a look at the standings. Complexity, of course, sits on top with a 2-0 score. Alliance, just 2 game wins and an 0-2 match score. Hopefully they can turn it around as we get towards, the halfway point and then the second half of the season. They did make some strides today, even though their communication might have been a little bit off. They were communicating more, which is a step in the right direction. So definitely Alliance, a favorite coming into the tournament. I hope to see them get a little bit better as the weeks progress. But the next match that we're going to see is one that I was hyped for as soon as I saw it last week. It's Luminosity versus Tempo Storm. Now, Luminosity, they had a pretty impressive run, but I think the coolest thing about them was their communication. Very jovial, Chalky sort of the leader of the group there, and funny to listen to. Very entertaining to listen to. Tempo Storm just sort of impressed with unique deck choices, play overall. So both these guys impressed in sort of different ways last week.
Yeah, the newly expanded Tempo Storm roster with VLPS, I would expect there to be some mixing up in here. Gara has traditionally played decks that are a bit against the grain. VLPS loves to brew up his own decks, and Just Saying likes to play the long game more than just about anybody I know. That's one of the things he looks forward to. And for Luminosity, fairly newly formed, about in the last 6 months, and these guys love to bring the heat. They are power deck players. Chalky and Zalay like to consistently pilot the strongest strategies, and Frozen, he tends to go to that next level, find one deck in that lineup that can play a similar role, but give you an edge because it's a bit different. So this is a strange dynamic where I feel Luminosity may have the edge simply because they are ready to play whatever deck it takes to simply win the game.
And as you can see on the screen there, that's the 9 class icons that represent the 9 unique decks that these teams submitted, one for each class. This is the pick ban phase, which means each team will ban 2 decks away from their opponent and then exclude 1 deck from their own lineup to be left with 6 that they'll then play in their best of 11 match. So right now we're going to start off with the first ban, and it's Shaman for both players. No surprise there, that's exactly the same bans that we saw in the last matchup. So Shaman, of course, widely regarded as the strongest deck in the format. And now that they've seen the information from the first bans, the teams will go ahead and ban a second deck. And Admirable, we have a little bit of a shakeup. It's both Warriors banned away this time. So the 2 main culprits for Patch's shenanigans will be out of the way, but now Rogue is on the table.
Yeah, and that's something that's really interesting to me here is in the last series we saw Rogue banned away from both teams. I would say the only one of these players that I would consider a prominent Rogue player is Just Saying. So maybe a little bit of a nod to the fact that there's not a heavy Rogue in here. And Hunter, once again, will be the deck that's fork on, and rightfully so. It is not the strongest ability at the moment. The hand buff mechanic not pulling the weight in competitive play that some people had hoped for. But in this series, now we've got some big shakeup with Shaman and Warrior ban, because that means these decks could be anticipated to be built very greedy.
Yeah, that's going to be a cool thing. I liked watching the Rogue play, even though we may not have too many Rogue specialists. But there's a lineup of Luminosity, Chalky, Zalay, and Frozen. Each player will be the pilot of 2 of the 6 decks. But again, as a reminder, even though there's a pilot for a specific deck, the whole team is working together as a unit and collaborating on each individual play. So Chalky will be on Druid Paladin, Zalay on Warlock Priest, and Frozen on Rogue and Mage. And then looking at the side of Tempo Storm, VLPS Gara and Just Saying, Mage Paladin VLPS, Warlock Priest Gara, and Druid Rogue for Just Saying. No surprise with the deck pilots, I'd say.
Honestly, it just makes perfect sense with the fact that Gara has traditionally played super late game strategies. Priest and Warlock certainly fit in there. VLPS very experienced when it comes to being able to have sort of that muscle memory with those builds that often find themselves in similarly styled situations. And Druid and Rogue are all about resource control in a lot of positions. Sometimes Rogue gets explosive starts, sometimes Druid gets explosive starts. But he definitely tends to err on those sides where it's paramount to be sequencing importantly here. And with last hero standing at this point, that's another big factor here. Game 1 sets the pace for the entire match, because then trying to counter back and forth, and the first team to 6 is going to win on that one. So ideally, who wins the first game typically has a significant edge, and it's Rogue versus Rogue in our open.
The mold is broken. We heard Crane talking about it in the past 2 weeks, even in the first match of this week. The trend has been opening with Murloc Paladin. Out of, I think we had 4 matches week 1 and 1 match here. It was like 3 of those 5 matches, it was Murloc Paladin mirrors. And in 4 out of the 5 matches, I believe Murloc Paladin was on at least one of the sides in the opening. So now we're going to get to see something different. Rogue for both. And
yeah, the Anyfin Paladin doesn't make a lot of sense for the open here because Rogue's available, and
True.
Rogue is in a very similar position to lead with, given its strength versus the wide range of decks available. So queuing up the Anyfin Paladin here to start could have just been potentially suicide. Luminosity going to keep a sap in the opening hand. They find another copy alongside Tomb Pillager and Tempo Storm with the small-time Buccaneer. This just looks tough already. I honestly have no idea who's got the edge in this one.
yeah, Sap is a really important card in the mirror because it's one of the best ways to deal with Tomb Pillager. Not only denying the coin, you're also forcing them to spend 4 mana to replay it. It also can, defend against early Edwin Van Cleef shenanigans. If they go all in on an Edwin Van Cleef early on in the game, Sap can be one of the only ways you can deal with it.
Yeah, a lot of damage going to be taken from Luminosity here to get a setup to kill the Buccaneer and start to mitigate. But in the meantime, Tempo Storm just looking to find anything to couple with this big Auctioneer turn. And Luminosity looks like they're going to be more off to the races with Tomb Pillager and Questing Adventurer. So their hand more poised to start closing, where Tempo Storm's hand is looking like value. Let's hear how Luminosity wants to handle the turns.
Move, we go point Drake. If he saps, we can play the Pillager again.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Questing hit just feels like...
No, questing hits.
Questing is terrible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright, so we're playing -10 life.
Yeah.
I think this was a Tavern Brawl once.
-10 life, minus a card.
Yeah.
Nice. No, we got the card.
It's 4 damage. Next turn we can go prep, eviscerate, conceal. Yeah, we go off and just win. It's a win, right? Pushing. Hold on. Let's do the math. 4.
So many.
It's like 6 until. Yeah, it's lethal actually. It's lethal. He has to kill us in 2 turns. I think it's lethal.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about whether or not we eviscerate this guy.
No, we gotta save it for face. I think it's enough if we just push it face.
He has to kill us in 2 turns. There's no way, right? There's absolutely no way.
Damage. No.
And use the coin.
Make sure you swing the patches first.
Give me a quest.
Definitely use the dagger as well. Next turn we have enough mana to dagger up still.
Choose soon.
It's got to be enough. Let's see. Next turn we have prep of this. Actually, no. Next turn we can't dagger if we want to conceal. Prep of this conceals how much? Prep of this first. 6 plus.
Yeah, you gotta play everything. We're dying too fast.
Don't forget to attack with patches.
We're losing HP quick.
Losing HP quick. Thanks for the analysis.
That's
I
even
can
better.
kill the questing, actually.
Because
5,
of
6.
Van Cleef.
Because of the Van Cleef.
Yeah. Safer, right?
Is it still enough? Hold on, we're pushing 7. So we push 7.
So it's an
plus
8,
we have a 8. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah, so kill the.
Yeah.
Yeah, kill the questing. Yeah.
And attack first. Yeah, of course.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, sometimes this is how Rogue matchups go, and which is kind of unfortunate because this mirror matchup is so crucial because Rogue counters so many of the decks that are left in the lineup. So if you can take the early win with Rogue, eliminating your opponent's Rogue early on, then it's going to be hard for your opponents with Shaman and Warrior Band to be able to come back in the game. And that's a quick win for Tempo Storm right off the bat.
Couple of key draws really changed that game. Without the Questing Adventurer, they lacked the pressure. Without the Edwin Van Cleef, they maybe sometimes from a range perspective died to the Questing Adventurer. The only thing to look at from for me was just Saiyans' perspective on it, where he wanted to kill the Tomb Pillager. One of the things they could have potentially lost to was a minion, 2 Cold Bloods, attack, and then conceal. So then that would give a 2-turn lethal over to Luminosity at that point, and they wouldn't have a way to check it. That was the only thing they lost to. And their damage, if they drew any card that they could play on the second attack from Questing Adventurer, would have given them exact lethal to win in the face of no disruption.
Yeah, so they were able to even spend the Eviscerate on the Questing Adventurer to stop who knows what, you know, counterfeit coin into whatever, to, you know, prevent any possible lethal scenarios. So there is the Rogue eliminated for Luminosity. Both these teams, as we saw from the standings earlier, won in their Week 1 matchups. So this is sort of, it has even more importance than the head-to-head earlier on where we had a winning team and a losing team. This is sort of to separate yourself from the standings. So both these teams have a lot of motivation to win, and not only win, but win as hard as they can.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the case. But then, and to touch on the Rogue winning a lot more, Shaman and Warrior are both out of the equation. What of the remaining decks beats Rogue?
That's a good question.
That's crickets, I hear.
Yeah, that is a very good question. Well, we'll see. And it looks like, is that a tempo? It's a tempo mage.
Wow. I've been seeing this float around on the European ladder the last couple of weeks. And this hasn't quite made its way to the NA ladder just yet. But your opponent's mulligan as though you're a Reno mage.
Yeah, it's been being played a lot in China as well. In the Titanar tournament's going on right now, a few of the Chinese players have been playing Tempo Mage. Omega Zero is one of those players, you know, known for his participation in the World Championship last year. One of the strongest Chinese players. 13 rank total, rank 1 finishes in Hearthstone.
Look at that backstab gets mulliganed away.
Uh-oh.
And that's a nod to Reno Mage.
Uh-oh.
They draw patches. And that's a Mana Worm open for Luminosity. They redraw the backstab, but the key here is that they're already down a card with the patches.
Yeah, and they're going to see this Mana Worm, and
that is bad news for them.
Sirens are going to go off.
That's an all-points bulletin. Look at just saying, he just smiles like, oh no.
All right, well, let's see what Tempo Storm's thoughts are after seeing that Mana Worm.
And then we have the follow-up for the Sorcerer, too.
I mean, you would still be like in such an insane spot if you would have gotten the Buccaneer.
True.
Even against the Tempo Mage, so I don't think the mulligan was bad.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're keeping up with the tournaments, like, you could almost predict that LG would bring in, I guess. I think it was, like, pretty high chance that they get.
Oh, yeah, best card.
Our next turn's pretty vital. Like, Pillager's actually really insane if we draw it, but if we don't, it's like, so if they don't drop the Naked Flamewaker.
That's better, right? That's better.
Cost 3.
Yeah. A simple turn.
Alright, no Tomb Pillager.
I like your attitude.
Yeah. He's thinking. That's good.
Pay attention, class.
Oh. That's still good.
It's not a Tomb Pillager.
Yeah, I'll take that.
That's what we wanted.
I was going for the redagger kind of turn.
Alright, give me an Arcane Blast.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Wait, why do we want Arcane Blast? Right?
For next turn,
Yeah, it's pretty good with Azure Drake.
Drake Coin Blast on his Drake.
But even then, I think I like the Coin Emperor on the next turn.
Oh, that fail with no patches.
No Azure Drake.
One thing about Luminosity is that they're always in high spirits, it feels.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an interesting draw. Yeah, I'm playing the Emperor.
Yep. Flamewaker. Cheap spells.
Well, there's a Gadget Stand Auctioneer in Tempo Storm's hand, though. So I expect some fireworks, and that's a sap.
Yeah, they do need to find a conceal. Well, I guess they don't need to, but it would be a bonus.
It would be a mighty big bonus.
Yeah.
Well.
Well.
Sometimes Christmas comes early.
Yeah.
That's pretty spicy.
Tempo Storm, say hello to your deck.
Wow. That's really unfortunate. But it's also very fortunate at the same time.
Yeah.
So Flame Strike is the card that they're hoping to avoid at this point.
Hey, just replay the Emperor.
Well, the Babbling Book, oh, it can't provide a 6-cost one. That's definitely true. Let's hear how Luminosity wants to tackle this turn.
You want to cast a spell? I want to cast a spell.
Like,
Do we Emperor taunts or?
Probably want to save the taunts for like.
Okay, you're just not worried about dying this turn, like.
Can't really stand on 9.
I don't think we're dead this turn, but we could get double CB'd in the face.
Also go Drake, Waker images.
I don't think Drake Waker's as good as Emperor. Like the 2 shots from the Waker aren't that good here. Emperor discount seems better.
For discount, it doesn't seem like it does that much. It's okay. Gives them something to deal with. I guess we should just do it.
So, do we images or no, basically?
I think he has.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I want to save it for like when he Canonize this turn. Like if he goes like Canonize to draw cards. Like, and then we set the images down.
Yeah.
No, not this.
I mean, should we still? Nah, the fan's better. The backstab fan's better. We could always
Is the merit to playing Swashbuckler first?
No, backstab first, I think.
Yeah, that's that. It's so fan of a burger. There's a lot of cool frostbolts and stuff we could get. Guess it's too unlikely.
Oh, baby.
So.
We ever ignore the Emperor? Or do we have potential lethal without it? I think. Is there merit to ignoring it?
16.
We're not dead next turn, right? No, I think we should kill it. I don't know. It's close. Let's Swashbuckler first.
I mean, hand is just a bunch of minions. It's more.
Like, I think we save the events for face damage with the Drakes. I mean, put the 8 damage face first. I think we push it face. I don't know.
It's super scary to leave it up.
Alright, let's trade. Nice.
Dagger hit, right?
Push the dagger.
Yeah, dagger hit, of course.
Nice.
We might just get blown out by like double Flame Waker here.
Yeah.
But
So we barely can't get that. Do we go? Do we go for the arcane missiles? I feel like that's sort of our out here. We need the thing to die.
Let's see where the images go.
Okay, that's a good plan.
Sure.
Okay.
Actually,
we don't need to grow.
You don't need to start with grow.
Okay,
It's already 0.
We could like polymorph one of these guys.
We need to hit missiles now, right?
Yeah, I like Jake.
Girl torch face.
Yeah.
Runs out on me.
Alright, technically we're not dead. Use both backstabs, both conceals.
Technically, they're not dead.
I mean, honestly, given the way the hands have panned out, they might still win this game.
There is, as far as spells go, there's 1 prep left. There's 1 cold blood left. They have the 2 eviscerates in their hand, and only 8 mana. So they'd have to start with a card. Well, they could start with a 2-mana eviscerate, but it looks like they're just going to go with the board clear method. I don't know.
Many options.
We might have ourselves a game.
These eviscerates go to minions. Yep.
Let's see. Tomb Pillagers.
I think it was a wise choice.
Choose suit.
Problem is, if you want to eviscerate, draw a card, you're foregoing development, but...
A handful of minions.
That's definitely a way that Rogue loses games.
Especially since Luminosity has plenty of ways to kill minions.
And a Pyroblast in hand as well. I mean, that's another 10 damage.
Ooh.
This is looking pretty good. If you're Luminosity.
So they can't find a way to double Firelands next turn, so there's no way for them to like trade in Sorcerer Apprentice and then Pyroblast face.
Yeah, their main question is, do they want to poly to preserve the 3/2 on board, or do they want to just use the expensive Firelands portal?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no doubt that the Auctioneer's dying this turn.
Just how?
Yeah, is the Buccaneer dying?
I mean, there's really not many removal spells left in the deck for Temple Storm.
Saps?
Saps.
No, there's one sap.
One sap. Maybe a Fan of Knives, depending on the build. But probably not if they run... There might only be one sap in the build.
Well, that one's not too shabby.
Let's see. Corruption. No conceals either. And all minions.
This is rough.
They can cycle with Azure Drake, but it's not going to get them too much further. Let's go ahead and take a listen into Temple Storm to see how their hopes are.
Double Pillager might be better. Plus we have the second gadget, and we have like our questing top deck, plus we have an Edwin top deck. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, we have really bad draws to go for Azure Drake. It's just this up.
So Fireball, Torch, Frostbolt.
No.
Well, wait.
Fireland's first to get not a
set up. Hold on. We could set up lethal. If we want to be dead to Leroy CB specifically,
we don't.
We could ping first and draw a card.
Okay, so we
It
don't.
would be ping face, right? Or do we want to ping?
I think we want to polymorph ping Fireland's portal, clear his board.
If we're going for value, that is what we're doing.
The thing is, we set up lethal with the Pyroblast, right?
If we hit face, yeah.
Like we're clearing the board and setting up lethals.
Ping this and see what we get, because we could just hit something really good, right?
We do set up lethal anyway.
If we get a good minion, we set up lethal. All right. This went fine.
It was hard for it to not go fine. Like.
So there's one more prep, and there's a
Gonna go
Zap.
with the Sap, I think. Sap and Conceal would be insane. Sap and Conceal is actually lethal, because then we'll have Leroy Coldblood follow up.
We can
don't have
guarantee,
conceals left, dude.
What?
We don't have any conceals left.
Oh, we don't. Oh, I thought we had one left.
but we can guarantee the Zap draw. Yeah, we
Still
can.
enough, I think. We'll cycle enough with this turn to have
I
Leroy
think
Coldblood.
Edwin is better than questing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it.
I think we have to Sap for sure. Sap to 5, I think.
Yeah.
The game ends next turn with Leroy Coldblood.
I actually didn't draw Edwin either.
So that's really bad.
It was super late.
Cycle the shit face. Cycle the shit face. We have Leroy Coldblood. It's gonna
But
be
no
a
other
67%
damage.
chance.
There's no other damage, dude.
How do you kill him?
So we must play the questing. Because there's Leroy Coldblood shift. There's...
And prep.
Yeah.
So the second.
So we're Arcane Blasting, right? We're gonna go Arcane Blast Demon Wrath, so we can start by pinging face and trying to get lethal, right? That makes sense.
Yeah. We never lose this game.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Like,
So cleave blast 5/5. Easy. Yeah, we have lethal set up. This is, yeah.
I mean, if you torch face, it sets up lethal through him dealing with our board, but I guess he can't deal with the board.
Wait, we have Pyroblast.
Oh, yeah, it's just, yeah, okay. I was thinking he was one higher. Yeah.
What's the mage spell?
Looks like Luminosity has found a way to maneuver this game to a victory. The mirror images absorbing tons of damage.
Yes, and quite literally so. I mean, it was so big of a disruption turn to have those taunts in the way. And now the Babbling Book finally coming to fruition here with that Pyroblast. Been in hand the entire game. Tempo Storm just, they fizzled out. They were missing one key turn where they drew all minions and no action.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what's left in their deck, but it's like a Leroy and an Edwin.
And that's not enough to push. I mean, they had to find the win this turn, and it's just a bit late.
Yeah.
Luminosity going to tie up the score with Tempo Mage.
Pretty cool to see.
When all the other aggro decks are gone, I'll tell you what, Tempo Mage might be a good aggro pick.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo Mage, like I said, incredibly popular in China to counter sort of the aggressive meta. If you can ban away Shaman and leave up Warrior, then a lot of times it's good. It's good against Rogue as well, and it's been played a lot. Chalky and Frozen were just in China. Zalay has been casting the Chinese scene recently, so their whole team has been involved over there. So it's, again, you heard just saying mention it. If you've been paying attention to the tournament scene, it's not really a surprise that they'd bring it. So, but definitely a cool thing. Already seeing some new stuff.
Yeah, and that's really important for this tournament. We heard Crane mention it. The first team that breaks the mold, that will force changes from everybody else. And so now that that's been introduced into the Trinity Series, there's always that danger of it being Reno or Tempo Mage. So you may see some changes to the way people mulligan against Mage the first time they play against it. Because in that game, mulliganing the backstab, that may have cost him.
All right, well, we're going to go to a very small break. We're going to see if Luminosity can continue their run in this Tempo Mage right after this.
Who's that pro?
Well, let's think about it for another 30 seconds. I think if we rope every turn, it'll tilt him. I think that annoys Dog.
It's Zalay.
Well, let's think about it for another 30 seconds. I think if we rope every turn, it'll tilt him. I think that annoys Dog.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to week number 2 of the Hearthstone Trinity Series presented by ESL and Twitch. About to jump into game number 3 of my favorite matchup of this week. It's Luminosity versus Tempo Storm, and it's already starting to heat up. It's getting a little bit faster. Earlier, we saw lots of slow decks. Now we're seeing Tempo Mage, Rogues, lots of high-paced games. Yeah,
these players are very prone to that, too, on Luminosity's side, where, again, they just want to power out strong decks and look to pick up big wins. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with their jovial attitude. They know that the pan out of their deck is largely going to impact the way that the game goes for them. It's a little bit less decision-making. Most of the decision-making was made outside of the game in specific card choices.
Yeah, the one question that I have is how well will the Tempo Mage stand up against the rest of the field? We know that the meta has slowed down a lot. There's not a lot of those early game decks, and it looks like Tempo Storm is going to go with the Dragon Priest, and we'll see if Luminosity can deal with this. Now, if Mage can take control of the board and can continuously answer threats that the Dragon Priest is going to throw out there, maybe they're going to have a chance. But it's been a long time since we've seen these two matchups head-to-head, and they might be a little different. Let's go ahead and take a listen into Tempo Storm and get their thoughts on the matchup.
Off book, like good mage player.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. All right. Did he keep 2? It looked like on my screen.
Ooh, we can coin girl into it. Either that or a worm, but.
So Coin Girl's weak to Powered Shield or the 2/4.
This isn't the card
It's not weak to shield, right? It's weak to the 2/4 and pain.
Yeah. It's likely that he has pain or the 2/4 though.
Yeah. It's pretty likely he has.
So our other plays Mana Worm pass.
But
next
then
turn
we could go.
I like Coin Girl better than that.
I like Coin Girl, yeah.
Give ourselves a chance to win here if he doesn't have it.
We might just keep dragons, right? We might just keep a dragon and like a whelp, something like that. If you would play a whelp, it might be like a dragon.
It's a dragon and a 2/4, very likely.
Or a shield. Actually, you don't keep shield ever, so I don't know. I don't think you ever keep shield. 2/4 dragon.
Wait, what? Hello?
Let's go!
Alright, so.
Okay.
I think we worm and book.
Yeah.
So we book first. This is
Definitely
like
book before the worm.
This is like usually. Ooh.
Nice.
And then we take the value trade onto the.
Do we missiles afterward?
No, I don't like that.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, we're not going to get to do it next turn, right?
Yeah, but we don't need to do it.
Yeah, but
I guess
he could buff his guy with the 3/4.
And then the missiles just do nothing. That doesn't do much here. Like,
well, yeah.
It buffs the worm up one, but I don't think it's that relevant. I'd rather wait for Waker or like spell pop, or like
Well, if
I like waiting.
Okay.
Like clearing the 1x minion is not that valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess it has to be done again to play the 2/4. We fall too much back on board if I start healing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Must be done, yeah.
My work is paramount. Leave me alone.
Well, a somber attitude from Tempo Storm, it feels. No dragons.
Yeah, no dragons is a bit of a problem. And you could hear Chalky deliberating over the arcane missiles, and it's just very much his style is to play stuff when it's available. It reminds me a lot of the Firebat of yore. He would just simply play the best cards in his hand whenever it was available. And had that happened, they would actually be in a spot where this 2/4 would be dying this turn. So that could be an important facet of this game. Where does it get cast now? But the bigger story is Tempo Storm is, are they going to stay level-headed through the fact that they have yet to draw a dragon in their Dragon Priest deck?
And all of the cards in their hand besides the Cabal Songstealer rely on Dragon Synergy to be effective. A 5-mana 5/4 is not very good. If it deals 3 damage to a minion, then it's good.
Now, the hand from Luminosity is starting to become heavy as well. So that's something else to think about, is where do they find their big recovery turn? Maybe it's the Flame Strike that came off the Babbling Book. They have a ton of value, but are they going to find time to get that?
I mean, maybe this is where the missiles comes into play, and they just use it to trade. They're rolling into Blackwind Corruptor turn, but they have seen that there hasn't been a dragon.
Right.
But how long can they, think that there's not going to be a dragon? There's so many dragons in this deck.
Yeah, I think I like the Fireball because it pushes 3 damage and you're rolling an Azure Drake on the following turn. Your turn 6 is looking pretty dead as it is. So in the event that that's the case, maybe it wasn't better to do it that way. Maybe it was better to missiles.
Yeah, not give them a.
That's a good point.
Not give them a target. They would have had Azure Drake regardless. So, there's always the trade-off in that situation.
Now there's always the threat of Cabal Talon Priest. Power Word Shields have gotten drawn. There's been a lot of weak turns from Tempo Storm thus far. So let's hear how they want to handle the problem.
No, Talon Priest will be so sick to bet. So the trade has to happen.
I have an off return. What do we go for? I think Historian might be better in a weird way.
There's a very high chance that you.
Historian's a 4-drop.
Yeah, Historian into a 4-drop.
But if you get operative, we have.
Yeah, we have to take operative. Most likely, we'll see. I think it's too important to hold on to the
thing
Drake.
is, we drew almost no dragons. The chance, like the next to draw.
Yeah,
is
I
like
mean the chance of drawing a dragon's pretty high. What do you think, Zane?
Just Azure Drake, maybe.
Plus, we have 2 draws with the Drake. I think Drake's too strong to not play it. It's just we fall too far behind if we go 1-3 with nothing
Doesn't it
else.
just play to Drake Blast anyway?
He has to have that, though. I mean.
What do you mean? Into
Okay,
what?
let's just Drake. If we get shield or something, it's good too. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Alright. Now we can go into this fight into Draconoid Operative.
Really debating on playing the Azure Drake because he has like a Dragon Activator card in his hand.
He could have
That
like
makes-
another Corruptor.
Hand's really slow. Do we ever play around like Cabal and ping the Thanos after?
No.
Oh no.
No.
I
So we
don't
just
think Cabal's a
Thanos.
Dragon Priest in this format. Like we
This
just
hand's so heavy. This hand's very heavy.
It's okay.
So Thanos Blast.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's important that we buff our Firelands up to kill everything he could play, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I'd rather play around 5-6 man than Cabal.
Like,
What do you think, Zane?
Yeah. Let's play the Historian.
Yeah, Historian first.
Once upon a time.
Nice.
any
Operative
merit to
again,
chill
right?
more?
Yeah, operative.
Operative.
Always operative,
No
always
merit.
operative.
Yeah, there's no merit to chill more,
Yeah, 0%.
even though it's like an aggro deck. Yeah, the cards we can get from his deck are very good. I definitely have to kill the silence and the draw.
It's a nice portal coming up for him, but
Yeah, I mean we have operative and death. It's fine.
yeah. I mean, we want to kind of save the death for the rag, right? If possible.
Yeah, I mean hopefully he gets like a King Mukla or something. Not a Mukla.
Go
Yeah.
taunt, nice.
Well, Tempo Storm continue. They don't really have an overall gameplay. They're trying to stop the board right now, and VLPS seems to be the dominating voice among their team. Just staying kind of quiet in the background there.
I mean, it's very much, again, relying on the instinct of VLPS, I think, in a lot of situations to find the way to go. And for Luminosity, it just continues to be a value game. They're doing a turn-by-turn setup rather than an overall game plan, is what it sounds like. And that seems to be the approach for just their play style. They're going to continue to make power plays turn after turn and try to seek an advantage as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Luminosity, couple options here. Rag on turn 8, but very vulnerable to Shadow Word Death. And Luminosity saw earlier how dead the hand was from Tempo Storm. So that often indicates situational cards, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain, things like that.
Yeah, interesting turn here for Luminosity with Firelands Portal and with Azure Drake Frostbolt options. I'm curious to see where they go with this because I could see some turns setting up for Flame Strike with the Azure Drake, but I could also see just the immediate value presented by Firelance Portal. The problem with that is you would, to some degree, need to rely on the Arcane Missile. So I don't really know where they're going to head with this one. Ragnaros, I think, is off the table. I think if they see Shadow Word Death and they get a bad Ragnaros hit, which 2 out of 4 of their targets are pretty poor right now, that could be lights out.
Definitely agree there. Even the good targets, if they hit the good targets. Whoa.
I'm honestly very surprised by that.
So they're basically, maybe they're trying to set up for Archmage Antonidas.
It could be the Archmage. It could just be looking to play the value game, but this is a major swing that's coming.
Yeah, if Shadow Word Death is used here, maybe they can utilize Frostbolt to try and stop some of the incoming threats.
It is kind of interesting with the Archmage on board and a Shadow Word Death being down that it would likely die to minion damage, which would open up Flame Strike. So that could be the idea. Plus, there's also just the jackpot hits with Ragnaros. If you take out the 3/6 or the 4/6, you're in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Polymorph makes things a little bit more interesting. I can imagine that be the pickup here. Maybe they think there's not many big threat slots in the deck, but I think
they saw Emperor Thaurissan, and they've seen Ragnaros.
Yeah.
The Emperor Thaurissan is usually a giveaway that Archmage Antonidas is in the build because they're looking to fight some more value game. Let's hear what Luminosity's thoughts are now that they've seen this Draconic Operative.
Debated.
Not that, it's pain. Or it is death. What?
It's okay.
Cry every time.
So, Antonidas Frostbolt comes to mind as being in play.
Is there a good way to set up Flame Strike next? I think it's just Portal ping the 4/6. Or is Portal 8 the 3/6 and then bolting the 5/8 better? That might be better.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of likely they don't have the second death, so it would draw some pressure away from us set up for a Flame Strike.
So like portaling
not much good to use with the Flame Strike besides the missiles, but that's fine, I guess.
Portaling the
I kind of like it. Like Antonidas is cool, this guy with Frostbolt.
Bolting the 5/8, portaling the 3/6.
I don't know if Frozen's speaking or not.
Yeah, Frozen's speaking. Yeah, just go for it, Frozen. I like that line.
Shit.
Oh, I guess I can't hear Frozen. I'm gonna refresh.
I think so.
I think Poly, Twilight Guardian, heal. Just protect this board, man.
I think one way to lose is Antonidas into
Can't, nah. 5/6. It's so much.
Still have a bubbling book card. I mean, if they have Antonidas, we lose. Like, if they go for Antonidas Frost Nova, we don't have a removal.
There's no way.
All right. There's no way. And that's it. There's just no way.
Tempo Storm getting a little bit heated over these board states. Gara very insistent that Archmage in the build, and uh-oh. Well, that would be a disconnect. So really unfortunate that that's the case because there's no apparent lethal on board, and I believe the rules in that situation state that it is a regame when that happens.
Yeah. There's a possible lethal. Archmage Antonidas. Draw the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Nah, there wasn't.
I was like waiting for where you go with this, but
draw 3 Sorcerer's Apprentice in a single turn, you know. Tempo makes things.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, a little bit of strife going on there in the Tempo Storm camp. So we'll see. The players were unaffected, it appears. It was just us on the production end. So the game is continuing. We'll hop back in as soon as we're able to. But, you know, some tense moments going on there. I'm curious to see whether or not they'll go with the play of just trying to protect their board and using the Polymorph on the 5/6, or if they realize that Antonidas is a huge threat in that situation.
Yeah, I honestly, I can see the merits to both sides of it. Again, I personally think I would tend to hold the polymorph because I've seen the Emperor. The Emperor just, to me, is a big site that Archmage is there. But when you have a board presence like this, how big of a threat is Archmage really?
Yeah.
And I think that's VLPS's point.
All this sets up for a decent Flame Strike. Missiles could end up clearing the board. They could Flame Strike, then Missiles, you know, giving them the optimal amount of chances to hit the Twilight Drake.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't couple the Mana Worm with it due to the nature of potentially needing the hero power in the situation where the Arcane Missiles fails. So development foregone there in order to hedge their bets against a poor Arcane Missiles turn. And a second Draconid Operative now. Not the spiciest of choices. Not a ton of spells in the Dragon Priest deck. And Emperor Thorson, his hand's looking a little bit weak for Tempo Storm. I think they needed more value.
Yeah, Mirror Image can protect some of their more impactful minions, but you know, a lot of times mages bypass taunts with spells anyway. So if they were trying to protect their Draconid Operative with Mirror Image, a Fireball could get right past it. So they do pick Emperor Thorson. It is the most powerful minion. Let's go ahead and listen into Luminosity to see what kind of game plan they're coming up with.
Their other card is a dragon, for sure.
So Drake.
We could Antonidas Torch.
But he clears Antonidas on board, right?
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's Drake.
Drake. And then we could Torch, Ping, trade. 4, 5, 6.
Wait, no, we can't. Oh, we have spell power, okay.
Or we could go Fireball to 5, 6. I like that. I like
Fireball.
5, 6.
Yeah, he doesn't actually have a clear on Drake on board. Like, that's good.
Well, he does have it.
I mean, that's, but it's not good. It's bad for him. So I say we Fireball. Okay.
So he has a dragon and one of our cards.
And a top deck.
Our cards are pretty bad. We drew all the high value ones already.
Well, he could have our Poly. That's like
3/6 into 2/3. Buff it up to 7 health, and then still play the Emperor. I think it's worth playing the Emperor still.
We've seen both portals.
Have we?
Both fireballs. The only thing is
portals?
Yeah. The thing is, if you play around like a Flame Strike, they can have like the.
I think we can.
I must consider.
Like not playing the Emperor would play around this to actually like use the hero power. But we do the Talon Priest on the. Wait, do we do? Yeah, we do the Talon Priest on the free. Is it better to go for the Talon Priest on the Emperor? I mean, we do this trade anyway.
No, it has to go on the taunt. We can't give him a free trade. Shane, do you think Emperor or heal? I think Emperor. We don't want to fall behind.
Yeah.
Can't play around Flame Strike. Yeah, I think you have to play the Emperor.
We can set. If we Antonidas images, he can't actually clear, right? Can't actually clear the.
He can.
No, he can.
You can deal with the Antonidas.
He can just hit.
So do you ever want to?
What about we Waker this turn?
Do Waker Torch value trade images? Doesn't feel very good either.
We could hold the images depending on where the missiles go.
I think the Torch is going at Emperor, right?
And Torch is going Emperor, yeah.
So we want to Waker Torch Ping?
I think so. I think we want to Waker Torch, see what happens.
The other play is Antonidas Torch. Like, those are our two options.
Yeah. Antonidas Torch.
I want to give us a chance for Torch to live. I like Waker Torch on the Emperor here.
Okay.
Probably save the image.
Save image? Just Ping it?
Yeah.
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 You could bump.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, lots going on there in Luminosity. Waiting another turn for Archmage Antonidas because it would get killed on board. but that is giving Tempo Storm more chances to draw into stuff. But Luminosity, it does seem like, you know, they have some healthy discussion going on, lots of pros and cons being weighed, and ultimately coming to some conclusions. So we'll see if they can get through this.
And their patience has been such an important role in this game, and trusting each other when they can come up with the sequence of decisions. And for Tempo Storm, it's been about trying to find a way to close. And with this Dragonfire Potion draw, it's pretty much backfired. They have a way to kill the Archmage Antonidas as a result of this, but I mean, they still got their work cut out for them because they're losing the value battle currently. It's another Fireball now for Luminosity, so the Archmage got to be trading up here, and the Azure Drake, of course, unaffected by the Dragonfire Potion. Yeah. So there's not really a way to slice this where Tempo Storm comes out very far ahead unless they get some strong pickups.
Blackwood Technician is a reasonably strong pickup. They can Dragonfire Potion, trade in the Archmage Antonidas. They'd have a Twilight Guardian left with 2 health. And then they could play a Blackwood Technician on the board.
Yeah, that's the issue, is that plays right in not only to the board position from Luminosity, but also the Fireball in their hand. So Luminosity, no matter how you slice this, is seizing the board position.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the question is, do they have enough gas left in their deck to get through? We know they have, they're pretty much out of burn. They've used both natural Fireballs, both Firelands Portals. They've used Ragnaros as a big threat. They have Emperor Thor's Hand. But is that going to be enough for them to close out the game? That's the big question.
That's a very good question as well, because that's an important facet for Tempo Mage closing, is just simply the burn. The hero power that Luminosity has in terms of just strictly damage is negative impact against what Tempo Storm has. So if it comes down to value purely at the end of this, they're relying on big minion, which is Emperor Thorson, and then Barnes. But the Arcane Intellect is also a pretty huge draw.
Oh, yeah. Still have Flame Waker left in the deck, too, so Barnes could pick that up, which means that they could Fireball, not have to trade into Azure Drake, keep it healthy, and push more damage. So we'll see.
Not the Emperor Thorson you're thinking of, but you know what? They'll take it.
Yeah. Still,
the board position is really the killer part here. How does Tempo Storm get past this board position?
All right, well, let's listen into Tempo Storm and see just that.
I think you put it on the Barnes. What do you think?
We only have 1 pain.
Like that too much. Can we just
Plus that wouldn't play well into Dragonfire.
We could draw Rack this turn.
So put it on the Emperor?
Yeah, I think you just... Yeah, I'd rather throw it on the Emperor.
Yeah, throw it on the Emperor. I mean, the discount doesn't do much at this point. We have to be quick, I mean, Gara, because we could discover, like, Draconoid Operative we have to spend time on as well.
And that goes actually pretty quick. The thing is, the merit of holding it really is just we play 1 big minion and... Yeah,
I think you just pass. I mean...
You just play the 3-4, or no?
No, if you draw Brun, we still have that and 2-10 at least.
Oh,
or like any minion you draw.
Oh.
Do we wake your missiles?
So
or do we kind of run like more AoE? Like second Dragonfire? Nobody runs 2 Dragonfires.
They could, but it doesn't clear our Azure Drake.
Doesn't make it. Yeah.
Totally possible.
So
we can just pass, right? Like we're in a winning spot here, regardless.
Yeah, just ping face.
Just ping face, I think. Like we're in a winning spot every time here.
They haven't played any Shadowed Pains yet, so it's like, even if they don't have it yet, they could top tick it pretty easily. We don't want that happening to our Flame Wakers.
Like he would Shadow Word Pain the Barnes, right?
Yeah, he would. But he could top deck it basically, I guess.
But
I mean,
even if he top decks it next turn, it's like whatever. Right? Like it's whatever.
It's a winning board state, I think. So I think we pass.
Okay.
Around Deathwing. I don't know.
Deathwing's like.
Who knows what secrets will uncover? You wish to live forever.
They still have a Roaring Torch and a Frostbolt, and they have only 5 cards left in the deck, so they're probably. It's more likely they have it than that they don't have it.
That's just right.
That should be. do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
Oof, beat the counter. Hell yeah. Good job, Tempo Mage.
Tempo Mage.
Big thing to note there with that win from Luminosity. Zalay mentioned it. Woo! Beat the counter. And that's huge in last Hero Standing because that's a deck that your opponent chose to play against that specific deck, and they defeated it. So it looked grim for them after the early Rogue Mirror loss, but now they're starting to make a comeback. Tempo Mage.
The fact that they had Tempo Mage, I think, really threw off Tempo Storm in game number 2. You know, as Just Saying mentioned it, said if you've been paying attention to the tournament scene, this isn't that much of a surprise. And they were on the verge of winning and just got a poor sequence of draws from Auctioneer, and that changed the outcome. Now, ideally, from their perspective, they've queued up the best counter against Tempo Mage. Luminosity picks up that second win. This is that snowball effect from last Hero Standing. This is when you start sweating and how these big sweeps take place.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at Luminosity. Again, 2 wins with Tempo Mage. They're going to be on that deck again. Still lots remaining, though. Druid, Paladin, Priest, and Warlock. And taking a look at the side of Tempo Storm. Now, with the Priest eliminated, they have to go up against the Tempo Mage with either Druid, Warlock, Paladin, or Mage. Lots of tough matchups with those 4 remaining decks.
Yeah, I would say given the nature of the pseudo-surprise from the other 2 and Just saying if you pay attention to the tournament scene, that's not a Tempo Mage of their own.
Yeah, it's probably Reno Mage.
Yes, and if that's the case, that is an uphill battle versus Tempo Mage because they bring a lot of heat. When you recover with Reno, they often have plenty of post-Reno damage. As well as just a deck full of burn afterwards. It's got strong value. It's really, and they have Archmage Antonitis in the build as well. So there's not a shortage of endgame burn potential in that matchup. But the spirits of Tempo Storm feel like maybe a little bit down after that loss, where Luminosity, they've been consistent through and through. It's just, woo, we got it.
Yeah. Now, one thing to note though is Rogue and Shaman were banned away. Or yeah, Rogue and Shaman were banned. No, Warrior and Shaman were banned away from both. And both players opted to ban that Warriors at second, so they left Rogue up. Now, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but maybe, just maybe, this is a Freeze Mage. Reno Mage is, pretty good ladder deck. It has decent matchups as one of the control decks that beats the faster matchups. It can beat Warrior, it can beat Shaman, favored against Shaman. So if you're banning those 2 away and bringing Reno Mage, does that really make sense? I'm thinking that we might see a Freeze Mage considering, look at the matchups across the board with Shaman and Warrior off the board. You got Rogue, you got Paladin, you got Reno Warlock. I don't know. Freeze Mage seems like it could be a viable option here.
One of my issues with Freeze Mage is simply playing against Reno Mage. I think that can be a really tough matchup at times if your sequence doesn't come out right, and then also Druid builds. But leaving the Rogue up does read into that a little bit. It's a good point you brought up. And I know that Just Saying is a very prominent Freeze Mage player. So that's right up their alley. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and, right now, the reason why it's taking a little bit of time is because the players are choosing their decks. Of course, Luminosity is going to be on the Tempo Mage, but Tempo Storm's having trouble deciding, which, may lead you to believe that, maybe they just have a bunch of really tough matchups, and Freeze Mage is quite vulnerable to Tempo Mage.
Yes, very so.
Damage from hand is what beats Freeze Mage a lot of the time. Early minion pressure, then damage from hand, and that's exactly what Tempo Mage has. So, especially with Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, thrown in there.
Yeah.
That's just an added thing that they have to worry about. I don't know. We did see Virtus Pro bring Freeze Mage in week number 1 to not much success, but it was a very poor draw from them with the Freeze Mage deck. So I'd like to see a little bit more of it fleshed out in the Trinity Series with this type of meta.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to struggle the most against Shaman and Warrior, I'd say. Those decks are just very fast and have a lot of damage that they don't interact with well. As you mentioned, kind of from hand damage, weapon damage is very similar to that. You can't be expending Ice Lances, which is a Blade of Freeze face, in hopes that you buy enough time. They don't have a giant recovery tool with Reno Jackson. They are mostly reliant on finding in-game burst. So that's a tough thing to do against either of those aggressive builds. And it happens to be pretty strong versus Rogue as well. Now, Questing Adventurer can change that a bit. But honestly, the fact that we've already seen the Tempo Mage and that we could see a Freeze Mage is like, this was step 1 of what Crane was talking about in the interview, where as soon as somebody breaks that mold, that's when it opens up the potential and you have to see change. So if that happens to be the case, I am curious about it. But the fact that none of their remaining decks, I feel, have a strong matchup versus Tempo Mage, I fear for them.
Yeah, I guess it depends on their builds, but Druid doesn't seem like it. Temple Mage is not giving them enough time. Reno Warlock, maybe. You know, sometimes you can stabilize. But again, this is a very greedy deck. Archmage and Tinnitus can be really tough to deal with, or Ragnaros, or whatever of the above. If they give them enough time, this Temple Mage is teched a little bit more greedy. It's got the Polymorph, it's got Archmage, it's got Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, so it can stand up in those sort of long, grindy battles, as we saw in the last matchup against Dragon Priest.
Yeah, one of the issues with playing against it when them having a greedy build is that they can play a value game as well. And when they can play a value game, that's what's tough. Now, I actually like the Druid queue up here from Tempo Storm because this is probably one of their best ways to get around it, which is have access to early removal spells for minions and hope that Luminosity's hand is heavy enough that they can't deliver that final blow very quickly. If that's the case, you could come away with a win. But Naturalize in the opening hand and Kun in the opening hand and Brand in the opening hand, these aren't the cards they're looking for. The Wild Growth is the only one that they're pretty happy about right now.
Luminosity, maybe not the best hand for themselves also, but they do have a lot of early spells. They have Cycle, so they're going to be, I feel like, in a much better spot early on. Tempo Storm just wants to find more ramp. Kun is a piece of their huge combo later in the game. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get there.
Yeah, a pretty slow start for Luminosity, and again, this is what Tempo Storm was hoping for. And they pick up a Mire Keeper as well, so this is a lot of ramp that's been introduced early on. And when the Druid is 2 mana ahead and they're going first, I don't know how, but let's find out how Luminosity wants to handle it.
And I think that's our only option.
Okay.
We could we can int go face and wait on the Wakers, but
it's only
Hard to
good
get
if,
both Wakers out.
it's only good if we draw Emperor.
yeah.
I think they play the 6-drops, like the 5/7s, so I think it's good that we do a proactive turn going into that turn.
Yeah.
Face.
Do we even blast if it double hit?
We'll see.
Double hit. We just trade the one.
We trade the book, yeah. The blast is pretty good here.
Okay.
Probably still have to swipe.
Yeah, I still like the swipe more.
Because he cannot fireball ping the next turn.
Just Arcane Blast alone is just too devastating.
Yeah. But
It's not
also
worth throwing away a 6-drop to a one mana spell.
But he can just fireball it. But if you play it next turn, he cannot fireball ping for 5 mana.
I mean, no, you would just Arcane Blast it last turn if we left that Blood Mage alive.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Crossboard, Arcane Blast, fireball.
This is good. We ramped up a lot. Coin's gone. 1 Flame Waker's gone.
Don't do it. I think we just do it. It's just better. It's just better. Like, playing these two and him Feral Raging our Flame Waker just feels miserable, like, with our hand.
I say we play the 4-drop on 4 like we intended.
Yeah, let's stick to the plan. It's good.
Okay. Girl. Okay, girl. Okay.
Four drop on 4 seems pretty good, but Tempo Storm, VLPS, trying to keep hopes up in Tempo Storm, saying, you know what? Hey, we're good. We've used up their coin. We've killed 1 Flame Waker. We've ramped up a lot. We're in a good spot, even though their hand may not be the best. 2 Naturalizes against Temple Mage. What are you going to kill, a 1/1 Sorcerer's Apprentice and give them 2 cards?
Well, that 1/1 Sorcerer's Apprentice is definitely affecting the board state right now. You heard VLPS mention they couldn't Fireball Ping on the following turn into Dark Arcoa. Well, now they can. And that spells trouble because their whole hand was relying on this Dark Arcoa getting some value. And on Luminosity's side, once again, it's just follow through with the power plays. They intended to draw and play Barnes on turn 4. The whole deck is built to function in a very specific way. And so when you have those plays available, follow through.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit off camera, but so many Barnes pulls would have been fantastic. Archmage Tinnitus would have pulled the hero power, Rag would have pulled the hero power, Emperor Thorsan would have made this hand absurd. So Temple Storm's going to deviate. They're going to play out a Bran instead and hero power instead of going with Dark Arakoa.
And that tells Luminosity, I think, quite a bit about their hand. I think if Swipe was available, they definitely would have seen it. I think if Wrath was available, there's a chance you would have seen it. So with Luminosity when they see that play, do they gain any confidence about this turn? Because Flamewaker would be about as close to lights out as you can imagine.
Yeah, Flamewaker, Mana Worm, trade Arcane Blast. You'd leave a 3/2, a 2/4, and a 2/3 Mana Worm on board against a hand which you know is awkward because of that last turn that Luminosity just gave them. So, and then you have so much to follow it up. You have Fireball to follow it up. You have Arcane Intellect should you need to play a little bit slower. Definitely a lot of options here for Luminosity, but they're in the driver's seat for sure.
Sorcerer's Apprentice off that Barnes changed the game, but again, there were just so many that did. Even Mana Worm would have been really strong in that spot just simply because it grows in its effect. So here we go.
Let's listen into Temple Storm.
Oh, man.
Just one random card from Bubbling Pool.
What about Disciple the Brand, naturalize the Flamewaker, hero power into the 2/3? Or is it better to kill the Mana Worm now and just leave the 3/2 up?
No, obviously kill Mana Worm now.
Okay.
Just looking for a little bit of card draw, man. You know, the double Nourish, double Lunar Visions, double Azure Trick, double Wrath, Gadget. Like, there's a lot of card draw in the deck.
Kappa Pride.
I'm right. All right.
Wow, that's a lot of damage.
We have all of our late game in our deck.
Freezing Potion. Wow.
We have all of our late game in the deck. Every single one of them. So we're at above a 50% the top deck 5+.
It's actually a little lower. 7 out of 5.
I count Arcane Intellect as 5+.
Okay.
So do they play 5/10s alongside Arakoa?
I don't think so. I don't think you can fit that. They played Lunar Visions last week. I don't think they play 5/10s.
So the question is, do we save this polymorph for?
That's so
do we save this polymorph and we just go like girl fireball ping?
Girl fireball ping. We could do that.
I don't like saving the polymorph.
The fireball does a lot to face.
We could set up lethal, right?
I think we could
set up lethal if we just go polymorph.
What about? Yeah, we could missiles too. Just get the missiles damage in.
Yeah, both Flamemakers are gone. That's
wait, we could explosion too.
Why not just poly ping missiles?
We explosion face for 1 if we want. Is that relevant? We should think about that.
Well, it's a ping, right?
Oh, never mind. We don't have mana. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not explosion.
Okay.
Okay, so I do like the missiles to face though, right? Like both Wakers are gone. It hurts our Antonitis, but Antonitis is fine already.
Antonitis is checkmate, basically.
Yeah. So let's shoot the missiles. Fires and missiles. You got the meme in.
Yeah, setting this. Problem is that we actually can't shoot everything if he Cthulhu's. And then we give him a turn to gain armor.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have a great game against Cthulhu. Like,
maybe we should have like thrown the bolt to his face. I think that might have been the.
I really like the synergy here from Luminosity. Even though sometimes they disagree on decisions, it's always, you know, healthy disagreement. And Temple Storm just drawing all of their cycle a little bit too late. Not including Naturalize. It's just cycle on the wrong side of the board.
Yeah, and something that was really interesting to me was Tempo Storm going into the turn of just
complete silence.
What do we do?
Yeah.
And on Luminosity side, they're just having a good time.
When you start complaining about your draws, like
every Hearthstone player that's ever played the game.
Yeah, you know, saying, you know, we have 12 cycle cards in the deck and they're all in the bottom 20. That's when you know that things have gotten awry. On a turn where you're in a tough situation, and you start thinking about that, that's when you know it's rough.
They also just used Kun, and then they drew Aviana.
Yeah.
And now they're naturalizing and giving 2 more draws to Luminosity. So,
well, there's Archmage Antonitis.
You heard Chalky say that Archmage was basically checkmate.
And both naturalizers are gone. So that freezing potion, oh,
it's pretty good.
Create a fireball, make your Archmage Antonitis unkillable. That's essentially what that does.
In this spot, that is about exactly what it does. Tempo Storm is virtually no way to kill this. And it's just going to be piling on damage. That's a lot of fireballs.
Yeah. Now they can just straight up kill a Cthulhu should it come out. But Tempo Storm not looking good here.
Yeah, I mean, if they fight back on the board with Aviana and Dark Arakoa, they just get run over by Fireball.
Yeah, I mean, think about what they've used. They've used their Bran, and they've used their Kun. Those are 2 of the biggest, you know, activators for the combo later on in the game. Aviana, Dark Arakoa, or Aviana Cthulhu, Aviana Innervate Dark Arakoa Cthulhu. It's like nothing.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to win a value game.
Yeah,
it's basically what it boils down to, which I think they had a good chance to do. Their turns were just so dead. Like, drawing the naturalizes in place of basically any other card in their deck is a big detriment.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out if there's a way to win. You know, what exactly can they do? Do they have anything left in their deck? They've used both naturalizes. If you're playing double naturalized, you're not playing mulch.
I would venture to say not. No, there's not a way to kill the Archmage's turn. That's really the big one. That's the big problem.
All right, let's see.
Still a 14 power Cthulhu, though. I mean, maybe there's some light at the end of that tunnel, but goodness, this hand is just so good. Let's see how Luminosity wants to start closing.
And Fireball, Blast, Fireball, the Diana, and then go face.
I wonder.
I think we want a full clear, right? Something like Fireball,
Yeah.
Fireball, and Blast.
We could Fireball, Blast. I don't think if we set up lethal, we don't really need full clear.
No, just clear. Just clear for sure. We win if we clear easily. So just clear in whatever way is most efficient, which is probably just Fireball, Blast.
Maybe Arcane Explosion.
I guess now that we Fireballed the 5/7, we.
Runs out on me.
Yeah. I guess, and then we can like Frostbolt or something. It's so many fireballs. I want to clear both of them though. Like just clear everything.
I think I fucked up.
Yeah, we did, but it's okay.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, jeez. Okay, that was really bad.
The time literally just stopped. The time, like, literally just, like...
Don't worry, man. It's just BM. It's just BM.
That was... Wow. Okay.
Like, the lag...
Doesn't matter.
Good. Stop.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's all just BM.
I'm sorry. I was like searching for the best way to do it.
Yeah, like...
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, they don't have any nuts on us. There's like nothing they can do. Like Soleil said, just BM.
Just BM.
Well, it was ugly, but they got it done.
Ugly, I think, is a pretty big understatement. It actually might have been one of the worst ways that they could have done it.
The one thing that I've learned over 2 weeks of Trinity Series, if you have to stop a frozen train of thought right when it happens, or else that happens.
That was ugly.
Because he said, "What about Arcane Explosion?" And they both sort of dismissed it real quick. They said no, but then they said, someone else said something like, "Oh yeah, just Fireball and clear." And Chucky said yes, and Frozen, you could see his eyes light up. And he's like, "Oh, Arcane Explosion, yes."
What I want to know is why not just Frostbolt the Coon?
Who knows?
Kill the Aviana.
Who knows?
Don't sacrifice the Archmage.
But what we do know is that Tempo Mage is on a roll for Luminosity right now.
3 wins in a row at this point, and they're just jovial as can be. Even after that catastrophe of a turn, they're just laughing. Like, I mean, we have 6 fireballs in hand. How do we lose from this point?
Yeah.
Well, they don't. And Tempo Storm has to find a way to recover. That's 3 down now. against the Tempo Mage. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
Rogue, Priest, and Druid have been lost, and those are two of the decks that are meant to fight against Warlock.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can close it out using Tempo Mage, or if Tempo Storm's going to be able to mount a comeback. We're going to go to a quick break, but don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone Trinity Series right after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Trinity Series. We're in second match of the day. It's week number 2 here, and I'm TJ, joined by That's Admirable. Can Luminosity continue their run with the Tempo Mage?
It looks like they're going to. I mean, we saw Tempo Storm queue up Priest and Druid against the build, and both of those have failed thus far. And their Rogue fell to the Tempo Mage as well. If they cannot find a win in the next series, I think it's over. I think it's 6-0.
Yeah. And Tempo Storm, you know, they've had...
Or 6-1, sorry. Forgive me.
No, they're going to erase a win. That's how bad it'll be. But yeah, it's... Tempo Storm has had some struggle with communication. You know, a lot of times they've been on edge or not being able to come to a unanimous conclusion as far as, you know, plays. And so they're going to go with the Reno Warlock. Now, this is a matchup that we haven't seen in a while. Reno Warlock has gotten a lot more tools. They've got Kazakus, which is another means of health gain. But this Tempo Mage, it's got so much burn. It's got a lot of early game.
Yeah, it's oftentimes that the Tempo Mage applies pressure, has a couple of key answers to the strong minions that the Warlock will play, and then has so much burn in hand that at every single step of the way, the Warlock struggles with the decision of clearing the board versus playing Reno Jackson. If you play the Reno Jackson too soon, you take too much post-Reno damage from the board. If you don't take care, or if you focus too much on taking care of the board, you don't necessarily have the resources to handle them once they have a fistful of burn. So in either of those situations, you come out behind. But they do have a card that I very much like in this matchup with Refreshment Vendor. I think that, well, they're going to pitch it away, and that's due to the strength of the Twilight Drake and the Faceless Shambler. But that card, in my experience, has provided a lot of value. And he shows back up.
He wants to come back. He's like, hey, Admirable, great point.
Oh, I should be battling here.
Yeah. Oh, double polymorph. All the way across the sky.
Yeah, that Paveling book it's something.
Yeah.
What a legendary moment that was.
It really was. In the Hearthstone history books.
Hearthstone history babbling books. Yeah. World Championship. Verge of Death. Pavel turns it around with a polymorph from a babbling book.
Now we got another one. Tempo Storm debating on playing a Sunfury Protector. Just straight up.
It has a lot of merit this turn because simply because of Sorcerer's Apprentice. If they run into that card, they're in a heap of trouble because they don't have any way in their hand to take care of it right now, which to me brings about a little bit of wonder behind the Twilight Drake and Faceless Shambler keep. They're keeping them simply because they're very powerful cards. And if that's the case, can they afford to just simply forego checking a Sorcerer's Apprentice and build into those 2 turns? Now, the problem with that is they know there's a natural polymorph in the build, and they just saw Babbling Book, which has that small percentage there. So let's hear how Luminosity thinks of this Sunfury Protector on turn 2.
Last trade.
Seems good to me.
Yeah.
But the problem is if he goes Gang Boss.
If they Gang Boss?
What's that play?
Yeah. We should think about that.
We got
think about it
for the boss.
Oh, yeah. Just poly it.
Well, think about it when he plays it.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
We'll deal with that in roughly 20 seconds from now.
Doesn't have it.
Hey.
Alright, Flame Waker, let's go.
More like...
What is he thinking about now?
Nothing, they're just faking.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could put it in play, so probably do that.
I think I still have to play it over Shadow Bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
There's no merit to playing Refreshment Vendor, right? It's too weak.
Yeah.
He dies to just... I mean, he used an Arcane Blast, but he dies to Frostbolt Ping. And this one dies to a Fireball.
Well, that's 2 Mountain Giants.
Sirens are going off in my head right now, Admirable. There are 2 of a single copy of a card in a Warlock deck.
Which means it is definitely Reno Jackson. It means the opposite of that, actually, if you couldn't tell from the inflection of my voice.
It's a Handlock.
This is Handlock. And something that's really interesting to note is that I think Handlock actually has a really strong matchup versus Reno Warlock. And that could have been the perception they were trying to give.
But it's even worse against Tempo Mage.
Yes, much worse. The life gain is very limited, and Yeah, it's bad. This is really bad news for Tempo Storm. This is probably why they didn't queue it up earlier.
Yeah, the reason why we probably saw Refreshment Vendor come into the hand was because there's 2 Refreshment Vendors.
I would venture to say so.
So, you know, this deck has very limited amounts of healing. You know, Refreshment Vendors, Earth the Ring, Farseers, Jiraxis, I guess, is a form of healing, is most likely in the deck. But aside from that, it doesn't really have a way to deal with the fast decks.
Well, this is about to be an explosion turn, I'd say. Tempo Storm, no answer to the Sorcerer's Apprentice thus far. For Luminosity, I imagine their read is there's no way to handle a Flamewaker. And with all the discounts in hand, Flamewaker coin Polymorph and then launch the rest of it is a lot of damage.
Yeah, though the one thing they do have to worry about, though, is they don't know that it's handlock. They might think that there's other... they might not think that there's other targets to Polymorph, but we know that there's a lot. So, you know, they might feel all willy-nilly with this Polymorph, but...
Well, they have a Fireball in hand. It's so hard to not Polymorph this.
Yeah.
You get to develop, you get to protect, you get to push. Those are the 3 things that Tempo Mage is looking for. What card hits the board right now that actually counters that? And that would just be Reno Jackson. So the question to me isn't whether or not you Polymorph. The question is whether or not you use Arcane Missiles and Mirror Entity. Let's find out what they're thinking about.
All right, so we can just poly and then just ping it.
I think this is fine. Yeah. If they Reno here, are we really unhappy?
They don't Reno here.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is like a very awkward spot for them.
Do we have enough damage?
No.
So we get 8 missiles. Well, we get 11 missiles and 9 guaranteed damage. So we need a lot of missiles to hit face. It's very unlikely that we kill him.
12 guaranteed damage with the 3 on board. Oh my god, I can't.
You already counted that.
We only have 9.
Alright, so we go. So then we go Barnes and then Babbling Book. We can wait on the. Or do we want?
If we wait on the Waker, we lose the girl.
Let's just kill his guy, right? Like,
just yeah.
Waker Fireball. See what happens.
That seems better.
Yeah, just kill this guy. Set up a board. Very likely the card he kept is Reno.
Images plays into
MC Tech.
Actually, why not? What about Coin Babbling Book? I like that.
That's what I like. And if we miss, we have missiles. Okay, nice.
Less nice.
The downside of running this card.
No, nonsense. We're gonna Barnes into Antonitis and win.
Yeah, we don't need a call yet. Call can help you with Shadow Flame next turn.
Yeah.
The bigger body is more important and more heal.
He doesn't know we're handlock yet, right?
No.
It's actually a big deal to mention. Doesn't know that they're handlocked. Luminosity's been holding back damage, which is good against Reno Lock because you don't necessarily want to all in if they have Reno, but it's not good against handlock because you want to put them under pressure. So the information advantage might be in Tempo Storm's favor here if they can stabilize.
Yeah, the key is the stabilization and also finding a way to push. Not having Reno Jackson means that the heal is a little bit more frequent, but not quite as big. So if Luminosity just draws a bunch of burn spells, they get out of this. But this turn ended up being particularly weak because of that information edge. If they had known this was handlock, they would have launched that Flamewaker so fast and just dumped their hand with spells. And that would have been game over. However, the fact that they're giving Tempo Storm that extra time is making a big impact. You heard how confident Luminosity was in declaring that Reno Jackson would be a bad situation for them. Rightfully so. But because of that, Tempo Storm trying to find an edge with that.
No Reno. No problem. Well, it might be a problem. Probably not a problem. Potentially a problem.
Yep. Not a bad one. It's actually a really interesting one. They're about 1 mana off of this being absurd, but either way, it's just going to be a sack on the Earth Ring Farseer instead. So the power overwhelming... Oh, no, never mind. How on earth did I count that much mana? I don't know. For some reason, I counted this as 9 mana.
I whispered it to you.
I'm sorry.
I said 9 mana.
Yep, it's definitely Shadow Flame Mortal Coil. Oh, they could be worried about Counterspell, because that's the Babbling Book secret.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
They could Mortal Coil and still Shadow Flame.
They're going to test with the Mortal Coil, I imagine. Because that also tests for Effigy as well.
Yeah.
Interesting spot. All right, so they're in the clear on the rest of those spots. It's better here to attack with the Refreshment Vendor and then use that body, right? They're 3-3 instead of a 3-2?
Yeah, they could have a 3-3 right now. Maybe there's something else they were worried about. Oh, I'm not sure. But let's go and listen to Luminosity and see what they're playing on Arcane Intellect pickup.
All right, so we just ping face. No, we can play the worm because he has to make this trade. If he value trades, he's screwed. I mean, we get the. I think we just worm anyways and just ping face.
Worm ping face. Yeah.
I'm inclined to
I don't
ping
like
the dude.
the 1-1.
Like, is he ever? Okay, does he ever remove our Sorcerer's Apprentice without trading?
Not really.
Well, we're gonna missiles down his dude.
Kills everything anyways. So I like just ping face.
We're on
Okay.
ping face.
Yeah, I'm sold. I'm sold.
Like if he goes face and procs the vape, it's like whatever.
It's quite nice. Drake Shambler, and then we just
We value trade or?
Wait, it's probably better to kill the Mana Worm.
we traded to the 3-2 because we're more afraid of Tony and things like that at this point.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think so.
Yeah, let's do it. Drake Shambler.
Do we ever save the Shambler for PO value though? Maybe. No polymorphs coming up.
No, you want the taunt at the moment.
I mean, I could go Drake, pure on our refreshment, and then.
We could always PO the. No, the 4/6 is close enough in stats. In terms of health.
Yeah, the stat wise it's the same. It's still 6 health.
Same health.
And we have a second chamber still.
It's not worth sacrificing our shit.
Now they know. That's the second Drake.
Yeah.
You require my assistance?
Ah.
Oh, nice. The hit face was really good.
So they could like Jiraxis, Alexstrasza, Vendor, Farseers.
Trade in.
They're gonna siphon.
There's no MC tech, but like.
Why trade in? They're gonna siphon, right?
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
And we're gonna Mana Worm Fireball the taunt.
Okay.
Wait. We're not fireballing any taunts. I don't think.
Don't trade in. I think. Yeah. Yeah. My bad.
I don't think we trade in either.
I forgot they were handlock for a second. Handlock doesn't play MC tech.
They have two bolts, like.
Well, you forgot they were handlocked for a second, but good thing not permanently, because that's a big deal. So, Luminosity, understanding that this is the handlock and protecting their burn, they expect the Siphon Soul, but there's not really easy ways to clear this. They're going to have to
the Shadow
Flame.
Yeah, I mean, the Shadow Flame was a huge pickup here to be able to eliminate the board state.
Yeah.
And while one of these will get swept away by the Vaporized Luminosity has a secret, just kills the first minion that attacks into their face, I mean, they still have plenty of time to launch these fireballs, get in hero powers.
Yeah. Find more burn, potentially. So Tempo Storm, really they only have the cards that we heard Frozen mentioning in the deck. They have Alexstrasza, or whoever it was, it might have been Chalky. Alexstrasza, Jiraxis, and one Refreshment Vendor. That's all that's left.
Right. And the thing about it is the tap is basically gone for Tempo Storm here.
Yeah.
If they life tap, they're dead.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of time, and you can see Luminosity just digging for extra damage at this point, and that looks like that's about donezo. Yeah. I don't see a way for Tempo Storm to come out of this game.
Yeah, Luminosity looks like they're going to take another one with Tempo Mage. It has to be Refreshment Vendor, and even then they would have to like risk the tap. I suppose Faceless Shambler could buy them a little bit more time, but no heals left. They don't know they're dead because, you know, they assume that there's 2 fireballs in the hand, which there is. Of course, not assume, but no. So they can play around 12, or they can play around 13 with the ping.
But not the rest. The taunt's going to have to be good enough for Tempo Storm at this point. They're going to use the other Faceless Shambler. They need to trade over the Emperor to prevent the damage. And that's it. Luminosity, 4-1 lead now, thanks to Tempo Mage.
This is pretty incredible. This is such a good read by Luminosity, understanding as long as they can get over, one deck with the Tempo Mage, they have favorables against almost the entire field. And Tempo Storm made the read. Handlock would have been fantastic if that was any other type of mage, or if they were going up against almost any of the other decks, because they banned out the aggressive decks, and Handlock just does better against a lot of decks that are in this format than Reno Lock would. So I like the choice from them, but they weren't expecting the Tempo Mage, and it just runs them over.
Right. That choice from Luminosity is being the big punisher. Like you mentioned, Handlock is going to have a much higher consistency of landing back-to-back power turns on 4 and 5. And against the slower builds, that's punishing. But Tempo Mage is not a slower build.
Yeah. It is, no, this is a slower build of Tempo Mage, but it's still a fast build. So there you can see, once again, Luminosity going strong with that Tempo Mage. 2 more wins left, and they still have 4 decks besides the Tempo Mage to be able to queue up. So taking a look at the side of Tempo Storm, they're running out of options. VLPS, the only pilot left, and he's got Mage, and he's got Paladin.
And I'm going to take a guess that neither the Mage or the Paladin is going to line up very well versus what Luminosity's brought to the table. The Murloc Paladin just has almost no chance against that build. And if that's a Reno or a Freeze Mage, both of those are also a negative matchup.
And I think that Reno Mage is a little better because you can stabilize with Reno. They're forced to go aggressive to pop your block. You have a lot of removal. But I would imagine they would have thrown that out last match or last game if it was a Reno Mage. I think that would have a little bit better matchup than Handlock. So I don't know. All the signs point to Freeze Mage.
And it makes sense too. I mean, this is definitely the team that will go against the grain at times. And when that's the case, just that one particular strong choice is massive. It's hard to not stress it enough, but it's just been a fantastic performance thus far, aside from the calamity of errors that took place with Frozen versus the Aviana Kun.
I don't know. If you ignore that one turn, yes.
Everything else has looked great.
Everything else has looked great. Spirits are high for Luminosity, which is a big thing. When you're playing in a team format like this, communication can get interrupted when there's a little bit of tension. And we've seen that with some of the teams. A little bit with Tempo Storm. Last week, we saw a little bit with Cloud9 at times too. So definitely something to pay attention to when you're looking at these teams. And their growth from week to week is tightening up the communication. Complexity is a great example of that. They had a plan coming in. They saw the plan worked in week 1. They created structure, moved into week 2, and now they look like, the team to beat as far as Trinity Series is going. So we'll see if Tempo Storm, once they get a few wins under their belt in this series, communication starts to clean up. They start to agree on a little bit more plays, and maybe can piece together a comeback, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for them too. I mean, this is down to the last leg, and I imagine the spirits in terms of your positivity on the matchup can't be that high. But the thing I do like is that they're still deliberating over everything. They're still taking into account all the little pieces of information, and it's important to keep yourself in check, whether you're ahead or whether you're behind. You have to play your maximum or you're sacrificing percentage somewhere.
I'm a little disappointed that the the Handlock got cut so short. Because that deck, I think, has potential in this format.
I totally agree with you, too. I think they've just run into a really bad spot here. It's just a beautiful pick on the Tempo Mage.
Yeah, really great read by them. Maybe reading their opponent as well. You only play 1 match per week. You know who your opponent's going to be ahead of time. You can see their matches from last week. You can see their tendencies. We saw last week that Tempo Storm, again, you mentioned some weird builds. They were the first team to play the Aviana Kun Cthulhu combo deck, and to try and counter the meta. You talked about it. All 3 of these players in the past have had sort of that next level reads kind of play style. VLPS, Just Saying, and Gar have all been there. So I don't know.
Sometimes you go a bit far with it. I mean, on the other side, it's kind of the exact opposite. It's just one of the most powerful decks.
All 3 of the guys from Luminosity are players that just have put a lot of value in playing the strongest decks and playing the strongest stuff in the strongest decks.
Absolutely, and learning the matchups accordingly. Turn by turn, you go for it.
Whoa! Oh, man! This is a VLPS special.
I don't think I've seen this before.
Yeah, VLPS has tried to make this work for a long time. And this might put a wrench in the plans. I mean, of course, Jig is going to be up turn 1. But look at that hand from Luminosity. They pick up some removal spells. I don't know.
What is going on? I'm a bit concerned about this.
Think back, Admiral, to the very beginning of Meat Shoots of Gadgetzan. A lot of players, you included, thought that Paladin was going to be aggressive Paladins were going to be broken.
And I failed miserably. It was not a good outcome.
A lot of players had success early on until things started to get refined.
Oh boy. That's
oh boy.
Frostbolt.
But got Small Tap Buccaneer. If this isn't a patches, maybe.
Well, the thing to look at is how much Tempo Storm can actually fight for the board in the coming turns. They don't have a strong turn 1 play that checks the Mana Worm.
They run Argent Lance. You got to run a 2-mana weapon.
I imagine it's in there. They're going to forego the coin. And Frozen, you saw him go with the hand motion, and it's just like, what is happening?
Yeah. Well, this is happening. What do you run? Light's Justice? Argent Land? I don't even know.
I mean, it's the right way to do this. Is just simply take care of the board and look for a better opportunity. You know, in a matchup like this, I imagine Luminosity has a pretty big edge where it comes to removal, but let's see how Tempo Storm thinks they can handle it.
Oh. Or do you want to play the Softless next turn for the Ultimate?
I wonder.
Or do I want to just play 2 1-drops here and then potentially coin out the Ultimate on 3?
I don't think that's happening. I think you're going to go 3 1s into Hero Power 1 into Ultimate.
I think if you get value from the Selfless, I think that's the best play, to go double 1-drop to Selfless. You get the patches, right?
So play both small times and the Selfless?
Everything else is too greedy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free mana cards you can draw, or like 1 mana cards.
Yeah, I agree.
Like worst case scenario, you go sub C plus your turn.
It's just like our buff mechanic becomes like kind of worthless now.
That's why it's a bad deck.
Except the mice.
And that you don't have 1 mana weapon, so 2 normal weapons is also super bad.
Yeah.
Another prime situation. You don't have the follow-up weapon. It doesn't exist in the deck. Like now.
It's better than Girl Bolt Value Chain. Next turn we can Girl Torch anyway.
Okay, yeah, I don't like Girl. The
other play is bumping the 1/1, Value Chaining on the 1/1 and hate the bubble.
Yeah,
but I don't like that.
So we have 2 options. It's basically between those 2.
I think the Worm is better.
I tend to agree. We want to get cards out of our hand as well, sort of. I'm not sure. They do run that card, right? Yeah, this is the better play.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my god.
When it's awful.
Alright, so we're trading into the Mana Worm first, buffing the 1/1.
The thing, do we divine favor here? Because afterwards, now we get 1 draw, afterwards we get 0. Or do you think we get more value later?
I might get more value later.
You get more value later. I would
yeah, we have to go double 1.
You have to play for the board. Yeah,
I want to put the buff on the. I want to put the buff on the South Sea deckhand, right?
Yeah. So you trade the...
Trade the patches, then trade the 2/1 into the 2/3.
Yeah, and then buff the deckhand.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of an interesting discussion there by Tempo Storm. Gara, he called the deck bad.
It is.
Maybe.
No, it is.
Probably.
It definitely is.
There's still a chance to win. Look at this.
There definitely is a chance to win.
They're going to take control of the board right here. GG.
Is it take control? I don't really know if it's take control. I mean, they have Oldemon into the 1/1 that trades into the 3/2.
I think they're going to ping here.
Oh, they're definitely... Oh, you mean Luminosity's take control of the board?
No. All right, yeah. Nobody's taking control of the board. The board has 0 control. Yeah. Blood Mage plus Forgotten Torch.
Here's the thing. Just because the deck's bad, it doesn't mean it can't win. That's a big key to think about, because sometimes bad decks counter strong decks. Now, this is obviously not the matchup they're looking for, but picture this against Druid. Druid's going to struggle with this. Any deck that draws a lot of cards is going to struggle with this because of Divine Favor. So you're looking to just basically plot pressure on the board in any form that's possible, push damage, and Divine Favor to reload.
Yeah, I mean, they can reset their... Ooh, they're holding on to Divine Favor. Okay, trying to get more value out of it. Resetting their hero power. Looking for 1 damage ping here. Shapeshift is probably one of the worst options out of the remaining. But let's go ahead and hear Luminosity's thoughts on these upcoming turns.
No.
We have standards.
Waker. Oh, Barnes.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Play that.
Ragnaros and Tinnitus Emperor, please.
You want to cast a spell?
Good enough.
All right, we really got to watch out for the Dawn hand show on curve.
Mm-hmm. How much does that card cost?
7.
And what is it? I don't know what it does.
It is a 5/6 that buffs a minion in your hand +5/+5.
Now it's a targeted minion, right? Like the card's not just terrible.
It's random.
Oh my god.
Except the mice.
Oh, the divine.
So that card. So that's an expensive card on the far left.
With another divine favor.
At this point, I'm inclined to go get a snack for Game 7.
You want to get a snack for Game 7? Alright, yeah. We can use our Arcane Intellect as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Bumping.
Yeah. We're down to 28.
We are afraid of Dawn. Like, Dawn Hancho is pretty good here into Tyrion.
Dawn Hancho is pretty good.
Whoa.
Well, that's not what I expected to happen with that small-time recruits.
Yeah, but this is a couple wins for Luminosity. They've got a handful of pretty much nothing.
That got 3 minions. They actually were not in that bad a shape.
Yeah.
The fact that it gets 1...
Yeah.
That's game.
I suppose. Yeah, Luminosity can really just start throwing burn at even small minions here because they have Archmage Tinnitus to reload. I mean, I don't know.
Sorcerer's Apprentice, Arcane, Firelance Portal. It's really tough to lose here. I mean, Luminosity Spirits, listen to the way that they're approaching this matchup. They know how this one ends because Mage just beats this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really easy, honestly, for Mage, and it's because the hero powers is incredibly strong in the way that the utility spells just all line up very well.
Yeah.
And for Tempo Storm, just look at VLPS.
Oh, no! The Doppelganger.
Gangster. Doppelgangster.
That's what I said.
Oh, my bad.
I had to say the stir so fast that it sounds like Doppelganger. I said it just really fast.
I heard it.
Don't worry about it. Not a lot of people can hear it.
That is a sad South Sea deckhand.
Isn't it like a 4-3?
Still pretty sad.
I don't know, but let's go ahead and take a listen to Luminosity to see if their spirits are still that high.
Oh, they could have a 7-3 Leroy to answer it. This was a bad play.
I was thinking Horse Rider True Silver, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, we're kind of spewing value here. This sucks.
Oh, there it is, but it was a hand buff. That's
got hero power.
We could fatigue him as well. Like,
well,
make sure this isn't a bot. I mean, I do.
Shut up.
Don't play AI. We don't want to reveal cards. Oh, mistake. That's the worst play you could have made. What are you doing? You're throwing the match, man.
Alright, let's just do stuff.
Yeah, you think?
You think that's good enough?
Oh, God. I want to see what their last card is.
Someone's driving away. Quick.
They're trying to get away from this match.
Yeah,
that was just saying getting in his car and driving away from the match.
Luminosity is on a steamroll right now. 5 games to 1 over Tempo Storm at the moment. The last deck for Tempo Storm is going to have to win 5 straight or they lose the match.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really rough. Tempo Mage ended up being a great choice from Luminosity, so we'll see if they can go 6 games, 6 full games with the Tempo Mage. to take the series.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a little different. Look at that. Looks like it's time for a break. So don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone Trinity Series will continue right after this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hearthstone Trinity Series presented by ESL and Twitch. We're about to go into a potential match point here for Luminosity. My name's TJ, and I'm joined by That's Admirable. It's been a fun day so far, and it looks like it's coming to a close pretty soon because Luminosity is on fire with this tempo mage.
Indeed, they are. 5 straight wins for them, and the first team to 6 wins wins the set. And now with Tempo Storm in their last deck, it's Mage. They have yet to queue up the Mage build. It could be any of 3 variants, in my opinion, once you convinced me of the Freeze Mage. And honestly, I'm thinking it's Freeze Mage.
It quite possibly could be, and we're going to see right now Blood Mage, Thanos, Blizzard, and Fireball.
These are all cards that are found in Reno.
But in the opening hand, I don't know. We'll see, though. Don't want to try and guess just yet until we have a definitive answer. But this is also the only match this week that's between 2 teams that won in week 1. So this is a big match because one of these teams has a chance to not only start the week 2-0, but also separate themselves from the other teams that were even from them going into this week. So
those look like Freeze Mage cards to me.
They could also be.
Could also be.
All right, there we go. Duplicate. The jig is up. It's Freeze Mage.
And this is bad news. This is a very difficult match for Tempo Storm. Luminosity is able to apply pressure at many steps of the way. Oftentimes their threats require being checked. They draw the Mage Key to Paradise with Mana Worm, and they have Ragnaros already in hand.
Yeah, this is tough. This is really tough. They also have Flame Waker. Flame Waker and Ragnaros are the 2 cards that are the keys to victory. You talk about Mana Worm. Mana Worm in most matchups. In this matchup, yeah, it can get in some damage. But, I mean, if you have the Flame Waker, get a lot of spells off, lots of that damage from hand, as we talked about earlier. I don't know. It's just going to be rough. And they just gave up the information that they had the Forgotten Torch. But let's go ahead and listen into Tempo Storm, as it looks like they have some heated discussions going on.
If he plays, you ever can just go girl ball. If we,
yeah,
this is
I think this is the Acolyte turn.
Acolyte, I think so too. Yes.
You play the Acolyte because if he AIs, it's not enough to trade into the Acolyte. He needs to do 2 things.
Just to make him waste a burn spell, yeah. Or at least have 2 spells.
And
he does have coin still.
You don't need to draw 2 with the Acolyte with this hand. You have
we have so much
order. This is the turn you play AI.
But later,
right.
Acolyte later is just trash. Torch is always good. It would only be an intellect or acolyte back here, so I don't think we ever torch this. Like even torching this one is much more important.
Yeah.
I think this one has to be torched. He has the coin. You can really go off this turn even with a free. I think the torch translates into a lot of health here.
Yeah.
I don't think he will just. I don't think he will just go fucking. Sorry, a freaking fireball or something like that to the face. I think that would be good for us. If he just. I mean, we definitely
Yeah,
have to
torch the 3-2 for sure.
Yeah.
I'd even consider fireballing it, honestly.
Yeah, we probably have to fireball next turn.
We could have gone fireball into loot hoarder torch, which might have been better, just because of the mana utilization, right?
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it?
I have an idea.
What's the idea? We're never gonna hear the idea. I have an idea too.
I have an idea.
Does Tempo Storm have an idea?
Well,
of how they're going to win this game, I don't know. Well, it's they have a lot of cycle, they have a lot of removal, but the thing is, they got to find a way to win. And eventually, if given enough time, Luminosity is going to find the Archmage Tinnitus. They're going to be able to piece together an infinite amount of fireballs. I don't know what this deck, the deck looks like for Tempo Storm, but Archmage Tinnitus, you know, as far way back as like the world, you know, even before the World Championship, Archmage Tinnitus wasn't a common card in Freeze Mage.
Yeah, ever since the Double Forgotten Torch lists have become prominent, it relies more on Evolved Kobold to deliver burst damage. Evolved Kobold being 4 mana and giving you +2 spell damage. With an Emperor Thaurissan, all the discounts from Emperor Thaurissan, your mana cost unlock up to 31 damage, I think it is. Or it's greater than that, but typically it's like 31 damage in a single turn. The key here is that Tempo Storm, every single turn, is being put under pressure from Luminosity. It's one minion threat after another minion threat, and oftentimes they're being backed by value. This is just building into that Ragnaros turn. Burn after burn spells being expended, and eventually Ragnaros is going to pull a lot more burn. When that happens, that's when Tempo Storm is in trouble.
Yeah, and Luminosity is already starting to put on the pressure. They're going to put him down to 8. Is that 8 health? It's going to line up for pretty nicely for the Coin Ragnaros. They're setting up for lethal next turn. So let's listen into Tempo Storm, see if that even factors in to their discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think we're dead next turn.
I mean, you have to play around Ragnaros.
Yeah, that's true. We have to play around Ragnaros, or we draw a block.
Accolade Frost Nova Icelance, the 4/4 Drake. Is it even worth using the? I mean,
you're not Icelancing the Drake.
Yeah. But then Arcane Blast.
But also, not just Arcane Blast, also like.
Yeah, I mean, we might need to save the
Portal Phase. What the? How bad is
Fireball Acolyte?
Fireball and Acolyte?
Yeah.
How bad is it?
Dead to Fireball.
That looks okay. You're not going to play around Fireball this game. You're dead to Fireball over 2 turns. You know, time to set it up. You just play the Fireball.
Maybe stopping the 4. It's just...
Yeah.
So if we AI, what are the chances for lethal? Okay, sure.
Not very likely.
Very, very low, because Fireball doesn't do it.
Yeah.
With the way things have been going today, this is an easy face shot. Damn. Unlucky.
No,
Guess we can lose now.
Here's the comeback. We're just going to draw all removal.
If they have block, Fireball...
No, they're out of Fireballs. They need block, Torch, Frostbolt, and then they need to Alex.
Frostbolt Iceland's Pain. Actually, Frostbolt Iceland's Pain.
Yeah.
Into block. Frostbolt Iceland's Pain into block.
Yeah. And then we need to not hit Fireball.
Or Antonidas, or Emperor, or Firelands Portal.
It's happening.
Or Flame Waker.
And then they need to win.
Not enough.
And then they need to win 5 more games. 4 more games. Okay.
They need Alex. I think he just wants to drop a Doomsayer here. I'm not.
Just killing it. I want to fatigue him. Kappa. Alright. So we start with that.
Why?
Because we could hit Fire.
There's nothing at 5 to hit off.
There's nothing that we int for 5, yes. There's only Azure Drake. And I'd rather book for lethal. So book.
You want to cast a spell? I want to cast a spell.
Thinking.
Alright, int. And we'd probably blast this, honestly. Yeah,
Push
we blast
one?
it.
I don't like
blast
it.
it. No. Blast it, blast it.
Alex, I want to go Drake blast.
No, I say we blast it. We set up Firelands Portal ping lethal. We can just Flame Lance and Alex. He has to Alex himself.
Yeah, I like setting up the Firelands Portal lethal.
Yeah, just blast it.
He's right.
What to do?
I guess we have Firelands Portal lethal anyway.
No. Now we don't have to ping with it.
Like, if he... I feel like this is just bad.
We don't have to ping with it. It literally...
Rip.
Doomsayer, Frostnova, loot order.
What?
Doomsayer, Frostnova.
We don't never Frostnova here. It's like the last thing ever. We would always play Barrier over and over.
I wonder.
Yeah. But then he can kill the Doomsayer.
But
I don't know if he'll want to. Yeah, if he wastes burn. I mean,
you just go the barrier, loot hoarder, Doomsayer, ping.
Yeah.
And the only reason why you do it this way is just because it's slightly more efficient.
Yeah.
he also still has to. I mean, he's never going to sink one face here unless he has Frostbolt in hand. But then it's like he has to weigh the effect of us having Ice Block there versus Ice Barrier.
What's the? I mean, there's the only other situation is ping loot holder.
Just portal him, right?
Let's portal him.
Just portal him.
Hit Leroy or Doomguard to clear the Doomsayer. Yeah, Doomguard.
And then he Alexes himself?
Yeah.
And then
Do we ever ping first before we portal?
No, we want Inspire.
But what if it's Barrier and we have to push base damage later on?
What?
It's Barrier, he's dead.
Yeah, I know. Like, do we ever want to...
We have Pyroblast.
Say we don't hit... Like, can we make a dead read that this is block? Because if it's block, we can push the extra one on the Babbling Book.
What does that do? He's gonna have to heal with Alex anyways. Let's portal.
Pass to Alex.
Portal phase. Doomguard. Damn it.
Good game, guys. Well played, well played.
Yeah.
Let's do this again next week.
Yeah. We got one more, right?
No. That's
game. All of them?
That's all of them, Zalay. Luminosity takes the series 6-1. All 6 wins with Temple Mage. Not a sweep, because it did lose the first Rogue Mirror. But, man, what does this mean for the future of the Trinity Series with Temple Mage now being on the table?
Well, everyone now has to really consider how that deck is lining up versus a 6-stack lineup. One of the reasons it's so strong is because your opponent has to play such a wide range of decks. If your opponent could just play Shaman and Warrior like they can on Ladder, that deck gets trounced by weapons. It gets crushed by very easy access to AoE spells like Maelstrom Portal alongside just a spell power totem. But the thing about it is when your opponent has to play a variety of builds, you can have decks that are incredibly strong against those lineups.
Yeah, but one thing's for certain, Luminosity definitely one of the teams to beat now. Not afraid to play the best stuff, not afraid to bring different things. They seem to have, always good spirits in their team chats, always healthy discussion. So I definitely like these guys as one of the favorites moving forward. But let's go ahead, and we do have an interview ready with one of the winning players from Tempo Storm. It's Frozen. Hey, man, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Oh, sorry, Luminosity. Did I say Tempo Storm? I'm so sorry, Frozen.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man. First off, how does it feel? You guys won 6 games with Tempo or Tempo Mage.
I think Tempo Mage is a bit underrepresented in the meta right now, and I think a little bit has to do with the fact that a lot of the bad Reno Mage draws kind of might get factored into the stat tracking for Tempo Mage. So that's why the win rate's a little bit lower. But yeah, this deck is very powerful. We saw it at NA versus CN. A lot of the Chinese players been bringing it, and it's been doing work on a lot of the fourth decks specifically, like the non-patches decks. And against patches deck, it still has some good or nut draws.
I want to talk about the Calamity Druid turn that took place with the Arcane Explosion and leaving the Kun up. What ended up happening that turn? Why did the communication barrier just break?
I can break it down. So basically, first what happened was that there was a lot of possible things to do, and then I'm also playing on Chinese internet, so it's a bit in game. There's a little bit of lag after the you dropping a spell. So I think there was a communication error, and then the Frostbolt went on the wrong target, and then I suddenly knew that the worst thing it made more sense near the end of the turn to clear the Kun instead of the Aviana. But then I noticed that if we don't kill Aviana, we can actually lose. So all the resources went into killing the Aviana, and it's whatever. We just need to make sure we don't throw.
Yeah, I think you're in a good enough position there to where, you could have closed your eyes and clicked spells, which is essentially what you did, and still win. But
as long as the Aviana dies.
Yeah, as long as the Aviana dies. And even then, I don't even know. It would have had a tough time winning.
Mm-hmm.
But next question is, what did you think of Tempo Storm's deck choices? Because they had a lot of unique choices. You guys saw the Handlock. You saw the Paladin deck. They decided to bring Freeze Mage instead of the Reno Mage everybody's been bringing. Do you sort of respect their boldness and to be creative with their deck choices? What do you think of their style?
I'm sure they put a lot of time into what the lineup actually does, but from our perspective, we just couldn't tell. There's probably some sort of queue order. I think they were probably sure that the priest, they had 2 counters, I guess, for our Tempo Mage, and it just didn't really work out. And then the rest of the lineup probably targets a specific deck each, and they might think that maybe the Freeze Mage will be our Druid because we only run 1 Feral Rage or something like that. And then, but aside from that, I don't think the decks are very good. We were actually looking up the Tempo Storm meta snapshot as the thing was going, and we couldn't even find the Paladin. So that was a bit awkward. Aside from that, I think they played well, and they definitely, I definitely don't think they just randomized a bunch of decks. They put a lot of effort into it.
And last question for you. With now 3 different variations of Mage showing up in the Trinity Series, it seems to be a very key factor to the way that a lot of these matchups will pan out. Where do you see the metagame developing in the coming weeks? Where do I
see it? For the coming week, I think Tempo Mage is going to get a pretty big boost in popularity. It kind of feels like a second Rogue deck. The deck plays very similarly to Rogue, where if you draw the coin, go second, it's very strong. It has good swing turns. It can clear boards. It beats control decks and aggro decks with the right draws. So it's a lot more versatile to Reno Mage, because Reno Mage kind of does the same job as Tempo Mage, but when you win with it, they just counter queue a Druid deck, and the deck loses every single time. The matchups are more polarized, which is why I think it's better for this format. I also think that
people will start not banning Patches decks as they develop, see more ways to counter them. I think Patches decks, while they are strong, they with 2 bans onto them, like you don't really have that many options to do other stuff.
All right, man. Well, thanks. You guys are really fun to watch, and so I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Congratulations on your win this week.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, man. So lots of great insight from Frozen there. The mage slot now is going to be a huge flex spot for a lot of people's lineups. Maybe we'll see more Tempo Mage, more Patches decks, faster meta in general. But let's go ahead and take a look at the standings after day number 1 of week number 2. Complexity and Luminosity with their wins today moved to 2-0, seemingly the teams to beat in the Trinity Series. And Tempo Storm did win in week 1, so they're now at 1-1 with a 7 games won score. So, at least they won a game in week number 1. So not too much work for them to do, but definitely need to clean up their communication, maybe look a little bit at their decks. Yeah, a little bit more fluidity, I think, among the lineup agreements could benefit them a ton in the coming weeks because, frankly, their play has been fantastic. Yeah, and so you can take a look at the schedule. Tomorrow, we're going to have G2 taking on Virtus Pro. Seeing if G2 can continue their win streak. And Cloud9 versus Team Liquid, 2 teams that have been in the scene for quite a long time. So that's going to be a pretty nice battle. But, of course, we have 7 weeks of action. Every team's going to play every other team once. So if you have a specific matchup that you'd like to see, we're going to have it for you sometime down the road. It's all going to culminate at that LAN finals, like we mentioned. That's going to happen after the regular season, where the top 4 teams are going to battle it out for $150,000. So definitely plenty more Trinity Series to come. But do you have any final thoughts to wrap up day 1 of the second week of play here, Admiral? It's definitely just to look at the difference between ladder play and tournament play. A lot of the balance that takes place has to be taking tournament play into consideration. And while there are certain decks that dominate in ban formats, you see a much different pool of decks go through the ringer and come out on top. Definitely. Well, it's been a fun day number 1 of week number 2. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, so 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time with plenty more Trinity Series action. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.